All right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Solitaire. I know we did it in TWIG 315 with Laura, but what's happened recently is Superplay is announcing Disney Solitaire. And so I just wanted to point out all the irony going on in this subgenre. So Mishka's actually playing the video showing Disney Solitaire. So for this category, just really quick, it's one of those, I think Crest would call it a mice nuts category. Top 7 top revenue subgenre in casual puzzle in the US, according to our friends at Sensor Tower. Actually, technically, Solitaire runs in a card category. It's, pretty big. So this is also a genre that is highly IAA, in-app ad driven, and also has a lot of RMG, real money gaming components and competitors, which I touched on last time as well. Why am I mentioning it this time is it's the irony of what's going on. So number one, it's really weird that Disney Solitaire is coming from a Playtika-owned studio, and the leading Solitaire game is Grand Harvest, which is operated by Playtika. So that's kind of an irony. The genre is super crowded. Candy Crush Solitaire launched in February, which is why we covered it the first time. And so there's another King game that's in market that's called Pyramid Solitaire Saga. And King talked a lot about using those learnings to help with Candy Crush Solitaire. So, okay, 2 companies again with, Solitaire games. And then you're starting to see brand extensions. And so this is where a little bit of my advice comes from. So Metacore, who we talked about earlier, they're Merge Mansion, and they're crushing it with Merge Mansion. So they have a soft launch game in Solitaire called Grandma Solitaire. If you remember, Merge Mansion is the videos with, ooh, did Grandma do it? Right? All of those like UA ads with the grandma looking like she killed somebody. So I looked at Sensor Tower and, tier 1 ranked by revenue, and it's such a smaller category. But if you're a brand and you're a game and you want to expand into multiple genres, my one piece of advice is make sure you use the name of your game. Like Grandma Solitaire is not going to get you any SEO love unless on purpose you're not trying to and you want to change that later. That becomes a little bit of a nightmare. But, Candy Crush Solitaire, use the name of your game and your SEO. Please just, do that. Take note. So anyway, that's my quick kind of review. Disney Solitaire, Candy Crush Solitaire, everyone's entering this category. Just you wait. It's going to blow up. No, it's not. Go ahead, Mishka.
Yeah, I'm really confused. It feels to me like one of those, execs making decisions on what type of games to launch, and they're looking into rear view mirror of the revenues and saying like, okay, this is nice. Like, let's come into this category. Seems like the top games don't have an IP, so let's make the same game with an IP, and they slap a Disney or Candy Crush on top of it. And honestly, I don't know who ever seen this type of a strategy work out in gaming. Like, it's hard to find an example where you were able to come in and put in one of those legacy IPs on top of a game and find meaningful traction. I remember in RTS or those tower defense games, like whoever tried to challenge Clash of Clans or Clash Royale, those were kind of categories that I was looking at. All these games came in from Titanfall to Dungeon Keeper to Command and Conquer, just ate shit and died. And I feel like this is the future of these games.
No, I think this was a little different, especially with the genre and the IP. We talk about the CPI boost for brand. I mean, you already see Disney Solitaire getting traction, and they're in soft launch. Candy Crush quickly grew, and I think is the number 3 game in the category, just launching in February. So in this type of genre, brands do matter, and they're just, copy and pasting gameplay basically from the winners, which, to Cress's point, is how you succeed in today's market. Go find what works, copy it, put a brand on it, get a CPI boost, and there you go. Winning formula number 67. So I just gave everybody, this is how you win in today's world.
I don't feel like it's how you win. I don't feel like it's have you ever won, but on mobile,
look at Monopoly Go, dude. What the fuck? They just copied Coin Master verbatim, dude. Threw a fucking Monopoly thing on that.
Eric, that is so painful to hear.
You seen the Star Wars integration with Monopoly Go? It had like the cutest video of all time. As a Star Wars fan, I was like, oh my God, this I might actually play again. Okay, not really, but okay. This podcast is brought to you by AppsFlyer. In today's digital world, understanding your app's journey from discovery to download is more than just insightful, it's essential. Enter AppsFlyer, the leader in mobile attribution and marketing analytics that allows you to measure the full potential of your marketing efforts, making every ad dollar work smarter. With AppsFlyer, that's your new reality. Dive deep into data-driven insights that reveal exactly where your users come from and how they'll interact with your app. AppsFlyer, where your app's potential meets performance.
Attention app and game developers. Are you ready to unlock the secrets behind the world's top-performing apps and games? With Sensor Tower, you get the ultimate competitive edge, whether it's breaking into new markets, fine-tuning your UA strategies, or boosting monetization. Dive into data like never before. Track global trends across app stores. Analyze market-leading in-app purchase and in-app ad strategies. And benchmark your performance with real-time insight. The best part, Sensor Tower doesn't just deliver data, it helps you turn it into action. With intuitive tools and expert analysis, it's everything you need to make smarter, faster decisions. Thousands of app and game studios, from indie creators to global giants, trust Sensor Tower to help them win. So why not you? Start your free trial today at sensortower.com. That is sensortower.com.
All right, let's whittle away the rest of the podcast with your game intro. Whittling. That was the setup.
Okay, yeah. Let's build fire.
Well, let's cook.
Let's cook. That's a much better one. Okay, so new game in soft launch from Habby. I have a particular interest in this one. I think it's combining a lot of really interesting things. And I think it's a great chance to check back in on Habby, which I would argue may be having its wonder kid in years. Habby Go, Archero 2 are starting to hit kind of their equilibrium, their long run download steady state, and it's looking pretty good. When you start to include ads and also China and Android, I mean, you could be looking at 200 million a pop in terms of these games. And so you try to frame it from Habby's perspective, okay, let's say that these are each doing 200 million. You're looking at maybe 400 a year from these and maybe 100 from the back catalog, which, by the way, when you subtract Habby Go and Archero 2 out of the portfolio, it actually doesn't look the greatest. Like, it's great that they popped off, but, still it didn't look the greatest before that. And so, okay, where do you want to be if you're Habby? So let's say they're doing around 500 million. That puts them right at the 21st spot in terms of the publisher rankings in gross revenue for a year. Garena was at 520 last year. Lilith was at 528. Peak was at 565. So you got this big clustering kind of around 500, 600 million. I think this is the chance for them to step up and take that to the next level and start to move up these charts and at least get into the top 20, which I think would be a huge success from a studio. If you remember, one of the first Deconstructor Fun articles that I think really popped off with the founder of Naavik as well, who wrote it, talking about Archero and the revolution that happened after that game was launched. It wasn't just the hybrid casual model that it invented, but remember, they also used like default Unity assets to ship the title. There was all these really cool lore. And so they've gone from that to having a bunch of new games in their portfolio, and they've done it by leveraging the same meta assets. And so they'll take the same card progression, they'll take the same stat system, whatever it may be, and they'll work them into all their different titles that they're testing out. And sometimes it doesn't work out, like we saw SS Snaker. If you remember, that was a shot that they took on goal. I think Wittle Defender holds a lot of promise, right? It's got that Habby core, it's got the roguelike abilities, it's got Evo Fusion, it's got the stat system, it's got linear power score progression. It also tweaks in a lot of squad RPG elements. It's got the Habby meta. What is the core gameplay? I would put it very close to what I would call the idle tower defense genre. So we've seen other tower defense genre iterations where you're placing characters on a map. And so you have a strategic advantage to placing them in a certain place, and you face waves of enemies that go through a certain pathing. So, they might go diagonal, they might go this way, they might go that way. So there's a lot of strategy that comes from map placement. This simplifies this massively. You were looking at a screenshot of the core gameplay where you have 5 characters that sit in the middle. They have enemies that are closing in on them, like you sometimes have at the end of Survivor.io. But this time you don't have any autonomy about how the units move. And the units will try to defend the circle. They all have different abilities, just like you would have in a squad RPG. And once you've defeated enough enemies, you level up. And that's when you get to choose your roguelike abilities, which are attached to the characters as well. So you're getting a lot of really, I'd say, low-hanging fruit when it comes to the meta collection elements. And I think they also have a great template. So there's another game that's called The Tower, which has actually been scaling for quite some time. I think for the last 3 or 4 years, this game has been scaling, which is very simple. I would say another iteration of this, but much more simplified in terms of graphics. It looks like Geometry Wars, if you're familiar with that title from back in the day on Xbox. And so this to me is a high-res version of this with the Habby meta attached. I think there's a potential for a winning formula here, and I'm really excited to see how this game develops. And I would say that just the last thing in terms of gameplay is it's great to see someone continue to focus on passive input as the core gameplay. So remember, you don't need to move your character around when you're playing a level. It almost auto-resolves, and you can use the auto timer to increase the rate at which the enemies move so you can clear more of them faster. So the thing that's really nice is that we've kind of moved away from these designs. We're moving a lot more towards active inputs. Like if you look at Supercell's titles, virtual joysticks are everywhere. We're assuming that people are in the home having these long sessions, and it's great to see games that still you can play with, very little cognitive input when you go through the core gameplay. Like trying to fill that dead time, I think, is the thesis we had for a while in mobile.
Which countries is this soft launch now?
This is in Vietnam, Thailand, Canada, Singapore, and Australia.
Interesting country selection.
There's some other things they do to the meta here. Like we're looking at Revive Ally here. So if you remember when you're playing Archero, one of the syncs they have is that you die and you have a chance to revive. This, you have, a squad of 5. So each time they die, it's another revive opportunity, which means another RV opportunity too.
The whole addition of ads, like this hybrid casual model, I'm interested in this because like these games focus on long-term retention, but nevertheless showing ads after a certain date, after you've shown, 25, 30, 100 ads to a player, like they're not of great value.
Yes.
So how does this game monetize like on a long term? They really need to switch from ads to in-app purchases.
I don't disagree that. There's also a correlation, right? If you can get IEP up, then your ECPMs are going to go up. But to your point, Mishka, right? There's diminishing returns where you get zero marginal revenue from an ad.
Yeah. Habby has a lot of external studios. So oftentimes when they publish a game, you can see the name of the studio as well as Habby, like with the snake. And I don't remember if Survivor.io was done by a third-party studio. Feels like everybody's following Habby's footsteps, even like the Voodoos and the Qualities and the Rolex of the world, just trying to catch up with like thousands of prototypes a year.
Well, what I'd love to see more of is what is like the casual version of Habby. Like it's pretty clear what the casual meta template is. Like everyone's just taking the Royal Match meta, which is, it's a formula that's been refined over, almost a decade, right? Getting people to the continue screen, getting them to buy extra moves, and then optimizing difficulty and like putting pressure on loss aversion with like Lava Quest or Episode Race, whatever it may be. It's not just match, right? It's a bunch of different metas you can put on top of that. But I've yet to see one publisher go as wide on the core gameplay as Habby has while holding that meta template constant. Like, I don't know if I see a casual version of Habby. If anyone thinks of studio, drop in the Slack.